Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. Blender Ed, Blender HD, if you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Friday, August 12th, so you know what we do on Fridays. It's Fighting Friday. It's Fighting Friday. Maybe we fight with each other in the chat. Maybe we don't. Hello, chat people. Wataz, Doug Montgomery, Matt Mears, Mr. Richard, Suki Singh, Colton Fisher. Suki, Suki went from being like the earliest bird catches the worm to tons of people are beating you out. Like Wataz has been for the past couple of weeks anyway. But other people, you're not getting here early enough. But give me those thummy thumbs. You know how it helps us out here on the channel. Subscribe if you're new here. Hit the notification bell to know when we go live. Remember, there's a big MLB slate tonight. So you can tune into Grinders Live, 5 o'clock Eastern. And Crunch Time precedes that for free. Typically, it's a premium show, but all season it's brought to you by FanDuel. We'll have Roth discussing any weather updates. They'll go around the horn, give their strategy thoughts about the DFS slate tonight, Draftkings, FanDuel, whatever you want. For MLB. It's 14 games, I believe. Yes. So go there for that. But we're covering MMA. It's MMA Fridays, Fighting Fridays. And this slate, it's a wacky slate. Okay. I talked about this wacky slate on the Ground and Pound podcast. We have premium MMA content here at RotoGrinders. You could sign up. Use the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. Me and Liam. Mike was busy, so it was just me and Liam. We spent about an hour and 30 minutes breaking down every single fight. Now, 3 of the fights on the slate were actually on a previous card. There's like 3 rescheduled fights that we talked about previously. So that's why it was a little bit quicker than normal. But you could go there and get all the fight breakdowns from Liam. I talk about some strategies, lineup construction. Obviously, for large field GPPs, we're looking for, ceiling scores. So check that out. The expert survey should be out today as well, and I'm part of that. So feel free to get the premium MMA content, which includes lineup HQ access, the best tool in the business for building your lineups, with the projections, the ownership, everything that you'd want here. And then we got people in the chat also with the MLB prize picks, right? I've been doing some prize picks. I just got on Underdog. I had a problem getting on Underdog. Some screw up with the location services. It's like, why is it not letting me play pick 'em? I'm in Kentucky. It's perfectly fine. And then they helped me fix it. So now I'm doing that and doing pretty well. Doing pretty well over there. There's some MMA stuff over there as well. Maybe if you're nice, if I get enough thummy thumbs, maybe I'll tell you some of the prize picks that are currently available. 2 aren't anymore. They moved them. So I got in good before they moved. But you let me know. You let me know with the thummy thumbs, and I'll tell you the prize picks that I have. That's what I will always do, because there's no point in me telling you if there's value on a line. That means I got it, right? And if it moves, too bad. You're not fast enough. Okay. So I'm never gonna say anything that I don't have. Okay, so we'll get to that a little bit later with enough thummy thumbs. Yes, Cold Fisher asks. Yes, I got just to be clear, I got Benitez at 7.5 minutes. I also got Boudet at over 7.5 minutes. It's now up to 10. So I got both of those. I got other ones, but then none of the other ones moved. So, but yes, I got in before that. They came out on Tuesday and they got moved the next day. Okie doke. So why is this slate wacky? Why is it wacky? It's because the way that the prices came out, the way that DraftKings works is the pricing is all based on the money line. So the bigger the money line favorite is, the more expensive they are. So it has nothing to do with fight styles or any type of fight data points. It's just basically how likely is the person to win based on the current betting line as of when the salaries come out. Typically, the salaries come out Sunday night, Monday-ish. And there could be a lot of early movement. Now, throughout the course of the week, there could be movement. We've seen plenty of times where, especially in those mid-range fights, like the 8,200, 8,000, where it opens like minus 120 plus 100 and then kind of flips. And the $8,000 fighter is now minus 130 favorite, right? So over the course of the week, it slowly moves. But there's typically a lot of movement if a line is significantly off early in the week. The opening comes out, and within 24 hours, it could get bumped really, really quickly. And that's what happened with David Onama and Marlon Vera. So when Onama opened at like minus one. Onama and Vera both open at like minus 190, minus 180. In the scheme of this entire slate, I mean, we have Benitez at. I mean, we can take a look at the odds right here on my sheet, which is not completely filled out. So we see here Benitez minus 350, Godinez minus 335, Quinlan minus 275, Bruno Silva minus 300, Day minus 300, Ode Osborne minus 275. So like Onama and Vera, if they were like at minus 180, like they fit in that $8,600, $8,500 range. The problem is, not for us, but I mean the problem in general for DraftKings is that Onama's line moved immensely, and Vera's line moved significantly also. So Vera went from like minus 170 to minus 245. And Onama went from like minus 180 to minus 330. So like Onama is one of the biggest favorites on the slate and has the second best inside the distance line at minus 135. But he's only 8,600. If we reprice this right now, if DraftKings said, okay, now we're coming out with the salaries, Onama would be the $9,200 fighter. Vera would be the $8,700 fighter or $8,800 fighter. So in technicality, based on, inefficiency of pricing, Onama is 600 too cheap and Vera is 200 or 300 too cheap. And on the reverse, Dominic Cruz is 200 or 300 too expensive, and Landwehr at 7,600 should be the $7,000 fighter if the pricing came out today. So that's what makes it a kind of a wacky slate, because these are two like obvious mispricings. In MMA, remember, we're not going by median outcomes. So like, oh, well, I'm going to take the value. Well, I mean, you still need the top 6 fighters and make the optimal lineup, large field GPP. So just because it's not like basketball where like, yeah, sure, you're jamming the 4K point guard when he should be 8K, right? Because the variance is very low or lower. It's not very low, but it's lower compared to other sports. The NBA is. MMA is very high variance. So it doesn't mean like, okay, just jam these two guys into all your lineups. It doesn't work that way. They're going to be the highest owned guys, okay? I mean, that's also the problem when it comes to large field GPPs. Onama and Vera are going to be around 50% owned, okay? And imagine playing them both together. A lot of these mid-range fighters are going to be owned. We see a lot of slates where people want to go up and down. They go, oh, I want to jam in 2 9K guys, and then kind of these mid-range, like, whatever. And then they go down and they find a dog or two. This is the slate where essentially Onama should be a 9K fighter. And people are just going to jam in the mid-range going, well, what's the big difference between Gabriel Benitez and Bruno Silva? What's the difference between Quinlan and Benitez? What's the difference? Ode Osborne is plus 115 inside the distance. Budai is plus 110 inside the distance. We have a lot of good inside the distance slide. Look, Mirzakhanov is plus 115 inside the distance at 8,400. So a lot of people are going to be making these types of builds. I'll show you. I mean, like, it'll be a build similar like Bruno Silva, Onama, Vera, right? You have average remaining player salaries, 79.67. They may not go anywhere underneath Priscilla Cachoeira, right? They may click on Cachoeira, right? You have 8,200 already. So maybe they play a Devin Clark for some wrestling upside. And then they have 8,600. And then it's like, okay, then you could play, Mirzakhanov. Well, you can't play Mirzakhanov in this lineup. They do something like this. Some type of lineup that looks like this. Maybe instead of playing Cachoeira, they go down, they take Tyson Nam or Gerald Mearshard or Jason Witt. They take one guy down here, or they go up from Bruno Silva and they go, okay, well, why don't I just play Benitez over here? I got 8,300 in this lineup. And then I go take Yusuf Zalal or something like that. Like this type of lineup. This will be the predominant construction. So 1 9K guy, Onama Vera, and then like kind of mid-range it. Like nothing, 7,500, under 7,500, not so much. Either that, or they could build without a 9K fighter and do something like this. Like, don't play Bruno Silva even, play Budai. Or you play Budai there, 8,000. You could still play like Cachoeira and Devin Clark. You have 8,700. And then you play Lipsky or something. I don't know. Can you get up to Osborne? Let's see. We go down from Cachoeira to Lucinda, right? And then you could get like Ode Osborne. Or no, they're the same price. Let's see. Yeah, there's a way. If you take like Mearshart or Witt or something, okay. They take a shot on one of them. But I mean, these are going to be the most common constructions, and you have to be aware of the combos that you're using in the large field GPPs. So I would think, based on our ownership, like Bruno Silva, like something like Silva, Quinlan, Benitez. Now you can't fit all these guys in a lineup, obviously, right? You know, you add 5,500, you can't. But I think something like this, like no more than 2 type of rule for this. Like, I'm not sure up here. Like, you can, I think Bruno Silva is going to be popular. Quinlan and Benitez may not be as popular as Silva, but I think they'll be still on. I think you're still going to see 30% ownership on Benitez, 30% ownership on Quinlan. Bruno Silva would be like 40. So, like, if you limit this to like max 2, I think you're going to avoid more of the dupes. Now, if you do this max 1, now you're golden. I think if you wanted to, there are Onama Vera lineups that aren't going to be duped. That I mean, obviously you have to take some shots on some low-owned stuff. So I wouldn't specifically, like, I am not specifically grouping out Onama and Vera max 1, even though they're going to be the 2 highest owned fighters. Because you could still make lineups. Like, let's ballpark a lineup. Let's say you play Lupi Godinez, right, at like probably 10% ownership up here, right? You do something like this. Godinez, you have 7,900. Play Godinez. You play Quinlan. I don't know how you get there. Okay, let's see. Let's go mid-range. You go something like Lipsky. You're going to play women in your lineup pretty much. So you got 7,500 for 2 fighters. Then you play like Tyson Nam and Gerald Mearshart for leverage. Like something like that. You leave 400 on the table. You're playing a lineup like this. I think this could still be fine. Even though it has Onama and Vera in it. You just have to be careful who's in the rest of your lineup. But I think once you go Onama, Vera, and then Benitez or Silva and maybe Quinlan, I think that now you're kind of running out of combinations. Now you got to leave money on the table in those types of constructions. So what I will most likely do, I will most likely set a max 2. Because I don't mind, if you play 0 of Onama and Vera, you have the most likelihood of not running into dupes. Right? If you play a lineup, let's say, even with these 2, let's say you go completely up and down. You do the barbell build. You go like Benitez, Silva, which are still 2 popular fighters. And you go down and you go like Benitez, Silva, and then you play like Lipsky and Blackshear. You got 7,500. You play Dominic Cruz instead as a main event fighter, and then he has 7,300, and you play Bresky or something like this. Like, you can make a lot. Like, this is a 50K lineup. This may be Duke. This may be under 5. This maybe. Now, maybe not. Okay, looking at, you got still 40. Still, I didn't update the numbers on my combo calculator. But this is more likely not to be as duped because you don't have Onama or Vera. And in fact, you have Dominic Cruz in your lineup. So you have leverage on the Vera lineups. Just like if you played Landwehr. To me, it's very hard to play Landwehr when he's technically 600 overpriced, right? Dominic Cruz is only like 200 overpriced, and in a 5-round fight that is expected to go to decision on a slate where there aren't many good dogs. There's a lot of heavy favorites, and you know this could be a slate that is 13 fights and only 1 or 2 dogs win. And even if 2 dogs win, like if it's one of the dogs is like Nina Nunes or Devin Clark, and they don't put up enough points. Like, it may not even matter. Like a 76-point win by Priscilla Cachoeira may still not be good, right? Like, you need one of the lower ones to win, but it's possible. I mean, some of these are volatile fights. But it's a weird slate where, based on the odds of the fighters, it's more likely that the optimal spends most of the salary, which leads to obviously duplication problems. But because of Onama and Vera, a lot of the constructions are going to be mid-range because these fighters should be more expensive. Like if Onama was 9,200, I think he'd still be 30+% owned. So imagine at 8,600, how many lineups, how many times can you fit in your lineup? Imagine building a lineup and you have, $8,700 left. And you go, okay, I could play Yasmin Jauregui, Ariana Lipsky, or David Onama. It's like you're clicking on Onama. Like that's end of story. It's easy at that point. The problem is that your lineup may be too owned. But it's wacky. That's why, like on the expert survey, I said that Onama is. I'm going to have under the. I'm afraid of being under the field on Onama, but it doesn't mean I'm going to be playing a very little of him. A lot of times, if I see a fighter is over-owned, I may be significantly under on them. Right? If David Onama was 9,200 and he was going to be 40% owned, maybe I'd only have 10% of him. Maybe. But at this price, it's so much easier for him to be optimal that at 45% ownership, maybe I have 35%. Right? And it may turn out that Onama destroys Landwehr, and it's like, well, I should have had 70. I should have taken the value savings and found a way to get different elsewhere. It could end up being that way. But I'm more likely to be under. I'll be under on both Onama and Vera. But I will still have plenty of them. So if they're both going to be 45, maybe I have 30, 35 of each. Like it's still these mid-range fight. I mean, it's just like, who are you going to play otherwise? Neither of them make the optimal line, or they both lose. Two lower price underdogs smash. Jason Witt gets 8 takedowns against Quinlan before, without getting knocked out. I don't know how Angela Hill gets there, but you never know. Charlie Antiveros. I mean, Benitez isn't like a spring chicken. Like Benitez should destroy Antiveros, but Antiveros is a big guy. He's kind of reckless. So who knows? Maybe Charlie Antiveros knocks Benitez out in the first round. He ends up with 100 points at 6,900, and then you're going to need to have him. Kind of weird. A lot of times I'm not interested in the 69, the biggest underdog. This slate I kind of am. Because some of these other guys, I mean, yes, Mearshart and Witt have paths to 100. Mearshart, it could take you back at any time. The problem is Bruno Silva probably dents his face several times before that happens, and it's whether or not Mearshart could survive enough to get the sub attempt. Jason Witt, great wrestler, but I mean Quinlan and a slouch on the mat either in defense, but Quinlan is immensely better on the feet, and Witt has almost no chin. He's like, no chin, it's falling off, no chin. So those are, I mean, I'm using like fight breakdowns based on it, but I mean, you want to see a path to victory. The under-owned fighters on the slate, as usual, are the women's fighters. We got what, 4? We got 4 women's fights on the slate, and they're under-owned as usual. Especially Godinez, who's going to be 9,200. She is plus 415 inside the distance. She is the second worst ITD line for favorites, next to Zalal, who has the same. And she's 9,200. So it's like, well, who the hell is going to play her? Well, I mean, look, Angela Hill if you can take Angela Hill to the ground, like you win. Like Angela Hill is essentially a range striker, and Lupi Godinez goes for takedowns. Who says, especially as a minus 335 favorite, that Angela Hill doesn't get taken down 8 times? 8 times, tons of ground strikes, doesn't even have to be a finish. Maybe Godinez puts up 120 points. Her style of fight. Compared to some of these other guys up here, like we take a look at Quinlan and Osborne, especially. This is first round or bust, guys. Right? I guess Ode could wrestle a little. He could. But I'm not volume grappling. Maybe he gets 1 takedown and finishes the fight that way. I guess that could happen. Same for Budai. Budai could get a takedown, but I don't know. I think the heavyweight fight is going to be pretty slow and sloppy, like clinching and garbage like that. And then Benitez, if he was smart, probably just takes. He's not a takedown type of person, but he could. He's a well-rounded fighter. He'd just take Ontiveros down because Ontiveros pretty much knows nothing about when he's lost so many fights and had so many control time on the ground that's the best path to victory. Ontiveros' only shot is essentially on the feet. So Gabriel Benitez maybe could put up a ton of points. But like guys like Bruno Silva ain't doing takedown. Bruno Silva is just a power puncher. Quinlan's pretty much a power puncher also. I mean, he has some jiu-jitsu, but he uses it more defensively than offensively. So like looking up here, it's like who's going to get the most takedown? Like it's quite possible that Godinez lands the most takedowns of any fighter on the entire slate. And we know on DraftKings scoring, takedowns, ground control, ground strikes score much better than standing and trading. Unless there's a knockout, right? You need a knockout in those scenarios for 100+ points. So that's why I will be over on Lupi Godinez. I will be over on the women in general. Jaregui is probably the worst out of the bunch. I'd say Jaregui and Nunes are the worst out of the bunch. Jaregui is more of a boxer against Lucindo. It's more likely, even if she does win inside the distance, most likely to come on the feet at 8,700 compared to Lipsky, who is more likely to at least attempt takedowns. So I much prefer the fighter that's more likely to get to the ground than the one that isn't. And then Nunes at 7,900 is just like plus 625 inside the distance. Like her ceiling is limited. Like she's basically a boxer. So like she's not gonna go to the ground. In fact, Calvillo's is a grappler. I'd much rather play Calvillo than Nunes because Calvillo is going to try to take down Nunes. Nunes, if she stays on the feet, probably wins. But a striking-based decision at 7,900 is what? Let's say she scores 80 points. I don't think that's good enough. For 7,900, if it was Charlie Ontiveros, that's a different story. If it was one of these really low-priced fighters, 80 points, maybe you got a shot. But at 7,900, I don't know. You need a freak finish in that fight. Maybe it happens. You never know. Take a shot. You never know. But at 7,900, I'm just not interested. If you got any questions, feel free to type them in the YouTube chat. MMA questions, strategy questions, anything about this slate, anything about prize picks, I guess. Anything about anything, maybe. Right? There's mostly it's titled an MMA strategy type of show. You can use this type of information to win at pretty much any DFS sport, especially the stuff like NFL Showdown, like stuff where you're trying to get unique. There's a limited amount of options for you to choose. Colton Fisher asks, is your ITD odds number the same as DK Sportsbook moneyline finish odds only? No, it's called inside. Fight does not go the distance. Fight inside the distance. I don't know what it's called on DK Sportsbook. I don't know. It should be called inside the distance. It's very well known in amongst bettors as an ITD inside the distance. Fight, or it says does not go the distance. But it's fighter will win inside the distance. There's also a betting line called fight does not go the distance, which means you bet on that and it doesn't matter who wins. So let's say in the Onama Landwehr fight, like Onama is minus 135 inside the distance. Landwehr is plus 550 inside the distance. Like if you bet on Landwehr inside the distance, you'll get paid 5.5 to 1, right? Right. If Onama wins, you'll get under. You'll get 100 for 135 bucks, right? But if there's going to be a line that's probably around like plus 110 or something that's like fight ends inside the distance, which means as long as one of them get a finish, you win that bet, right? So there's a difference. There's a lot of props in MMA. You could bet fight fighter wins in this round. Fighter wins by submission. Fighter wins by TKO or KO. We could have fight does not start round 2. Fight starts round 2. Fight doesn't start round 3. Fight starts round 3. Like, there's a lot of those types of props, depending on the book that you're using. But on Prize Picks, based on the odds, I'm going to go to the MMA section. Okay, so based on the odds, so basically, it's stuff like significant strikes and takedowns and stuff like this. Fantasy Score, they have a different type of scoring than Draftkings. I have no way of pricing. So, like, if you're modeling strikes or whatever, feel free to do that. But there's no betting line. I can't compare Ode Osborne's 60.5 significant strikes to any existing betting line. So, like, if I go to fightodds.io, okay, shows a whole ton of like betting odds across all these books, FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever. Right? I could go and I could take a look. It's like a Veracruz, which is the main event. So it has all these types of props. Right? So, like, a very popular ones are like over 1.5 rounds, under 1.5, over 2.5, under 2.5. So, like, 1.5 rounds is 7.5 minutes. Over 2.5 rounds is 12.5 minutes. Right? Fight does not start round 3, which means the fight ends within 10 minutes. Right? So you have odds, you have markets available to you to compare this to. So with this, you could go into the fight time here, and they even have like Bellator and PFL. So, like, I went, for instance, like before on Tuesday, Benitez, like, I'll bring back fightodds.io. You can just go to any sports book, but you need to find the specific prop for you to compare it to that is equal. So Benitez. So if I go to Benitez, and originally this was 7.5. So Benitez was 7.5. That's 1.5 rounds. So I just go to the over 1.5 rounds and I look across the board, the 1.5. The 1.5 right now is minus 210, minus 225. Okay. Even if it was minus 200, minus 200 is 66% chance. Okay. Now on Prize Picks, as long as you're picking a prop that has more than a 58% chance of winning, when you parlay multiple together, you're profitable. So basically on Prize Picks, you're looking for like minus 138 actual implied probability, no vig, nothing in there, to be profitable. So if you find anything that's minus 138 or over, no vig, minus 138 over, or 38, 58% likelihood. So Gabriel Benitez, based on all these markets, is like 66%. Under 1.5, under 7.5 minutes. So I slammed it, of course, and then they move it. Then obviously the line is off because they're trying to get underneath that 58% range. Prize Picks, that's what they're trying. They're going to move the lines. They're going to weigh action and see that. So obviously they bumped it down to 5. So what would 5 be? 5 would be fight does not start round 2. So fight does not start round 2 is actually like minus 150 on 2 books. So that under 5 may even be good. Like, this may even be profitable. Now I already got it at 7.5, so I'm not going to spend any more money to get it at under 5. And also there's a maximum amount that you could spend, that you could wager on one player on Prize Picks. So I'm not able to get it anyway. But that's how you'd price out these. Like Bidet, for instance, I got at 12.5. Okay, so because I got at over 7.5. Okay, so I went to Bidet, like right here. I go to, where's Martin Bidet, right? So 7.5 is 1.5 rounds. The over on the 1.5 rounds is around 180, 185, minus 180, 185. That's over 58%. So slam it. Now it's at 10. So we see here it's at 10. Bidet at 10. So that's fight does not start round 3. So fight does not start round 3, minus 120, minus 117. Not profitable. It moved. You have to get it before it moved. Okay? So let's take a look. What else is available? Let's take a look at David Onama, 10 minutes. So I'm going to go to over here. Let's see David Onama. Okay. So what's 10 minutes? Fight does not start round 3. Fight does not start round 3. Minus 130, minus 140. There's some minus 140s, which is above 58%. It's barely above 58%. Maybe this line actually moves in my favor and it goes to minus 150 or something. So right now on Prize Picks, David Mma under 10 minutes is a marginal value. If you just base it on just the betting market, marginal value. It may move, it may move against me, but it's close. Well, that's why it hasn't moved on Prize Picks yet. So David Mma under 10 minutes. Then we also look at, I also have, and this is purely based on handicapping. This is not a betting line type of thing. The most likely path to victory for Lucindo in that Jaregui fight is through on the ground. Jaregui is more likely to stay on the feet. So based on just handicapping matchups. This is not a betting line type of thing. I'm telling you what I'm playing. So I'm telling you the reason. I'm telling you what I think like this. So I have the Jaregui under 1.5 takedowns. I also think that there may be some value on Godinez over 3. Godinez is over 3 takedowns on Prize Picks. She's 3.5 on Underdog. So if you like the under on Godinez, you played on Underdog. But Godinez over 3, play in a pick 4 type of card. At least on a push, you're not losing equity, right? Because 3, if you hit 3, you just push in your card, and it reverts to the whatever else is in your card. But on a 2 pick, you only get paid 3 to 2. So I try to avoid, if possible, unless I have really good value, the even numbers on 2 pick cards, and rather play on 4 picks. Prize Picks, you're more likely to play. You should be more likely to play 2 pick cards or 4 pick cards, and on Underdog, you should be more likely to play 3 pick cards. Because 3 pick pays 6x on Underdog, it only pays 5x on Prize Picks. So you need to make up that. You need to make up that EV and just the line being even more off. The 4 pick pays 10x, and that's fine. The 2 pick is not 4 pick is better than 2 pick, but you just have to find four good picks. And I like to find a whole bunch of them and round robin them. And to round robin 4 picks is a pain in the ass. I tried it. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 5. 1, 2, 3, 6. 1, 2, 3, 7. And it's like 1, 3, 4, 5. Like you have all the combinations in order to round robin. If the site would give me the option of doing that, that would be so much easier. I could just like plug in a whole bunch and say I want 5. I want pick 4s, right? 4 powers of these 12 for $5 each, and it'll tell me it's like, okay, that'll be $480 or something. Okay, do it. Put it all in. Pull it all in. Pull it all in at once. That would be so much easier. But they don't really want to. They don't want you to do it. The types of people that would do that are typically probably sharper players anyway. But it would help me out a lot. It would definitely help me out a lot. Beatboz asks, Splendor, are you playing EPL this weekend? Yes, of course. I play almost every EPL slate. That I'm home. If I'm on vacation, if I'm somewhere, probably not. Probably like the end of the month, I'll be going up to Chicago. I may not be playing that weekend, but for the most part, or some of the 2-game Sunday morning slates or whatever. But if there's a decent slate for EPL, I'm playing. Jesus Pimentel says, I won last week the 40K Haymaker. I split it with 6 other people. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Now, that's kind of weird. The way that it's probably Jesus, right? But I wanted to say thank you, Jesus. Well, congratulations, Jesus, or hey, whatever. We could probably look at that lineup, but whatever. Congratulations. Give me those thumbs for Jesus, right? So I showed you, some combinations to avoid in the MMA DFS. I showed you how to compare markets on Prize Picks. You could do that. What I just showed you for these fight odds on MMA, you could do in all of these sports. So you don't even have to handicap anything. Just go, Well, let me find it on Prize Picks or Underdog, right? Use the promo code Grinders if you're not there, right? Sign up for Prize Picks, sign up for Underdog, use the promo code Grinders. They'll give you $100 deposit match. Yeah, there. I gotta promote that over there. Grant Brown says, "What are some of the better contests for EPL?" I looked at it last week, couldn't find a contest with a payout curve I like. No, and you're not gonna find one tomorrow either. The liquidity in soccer, it's so counterintuitive. If they made the payout structures flatter, they'd get more entries, and it would grow. But they do all these short-term things. We got to make sure that first place is $10K, even if 10th place is $200. Right? They do all and they get a short-term boost, but those people go broke too quickly playing like that. So even like the 333, the high, sometimes I don't play that. I didn't play it last week. I'm not playing it this week. Kind of the $200+ contest or the $180+ contest. They'll make it like $5K to first and $500 to fifth. I'm like, this is stupid. Like I have to let me take a look at exactly what it is. Because normally I would play that contest. That typically I play that. I typically play like 4 GPP lineups. I play primarily play cash games and cash lineup, and then I play 5, 6 depending. I'll play the large field stuff also, and I'll throw that in. But like the EPL one, like okay, the treble, right? The 333, 10K to first, 100-man, which sounds good, right? But like 10K is a 33% of the prize pool. The prize pool is $30,000. The payout structure is 10K to first, 5K to second, 2,500 to third. Okay. Like 8th place is $800. Like 9th place is $600. It's not even double your money. 9th place. 91st percentile. Like you have to come into 22nd, 15th to 22nd is $500. There's not even double your money. 1.5x for an 85th percentile. So like that, I look at that and I go, why am I playing this? I'd rather this be 5K to first and then spread it out. Or 6K. Do 6K, 4K, 3K, 2K, 1,500, 1,000, 800, 6, like something like that. Rather than need to have 10K to first. And then you could play, 3 entries into it? Like, why the hell would you want to do that? So, no, yeah, I agree with you. You have to go week to week. Maybe the first Champions League week, first and second Champions League week coming up, in September, those should be good. Probably. I don't know. They should be. I don't know. You could obviously play those contests with the high payout structure. Just understand your swings are going to be much bigger, right? You got to play even more for first, even though it's a 100-man contest. So how much more for first can you play with? Okie doke. So yeah, covered the MMA slate. Taught you some lessons. Hit that thumbs up button. I like that. Hit the subscribe button. If you're not subscribed already, hit the notification bell to always know when we go live here on the channel, such as later today, 5 p.m., Grinders Live. They'll be going over it's at the 14 game, right? 13 game MLB slate tonight on Draftkings, as well as FanDuel. And we have to thank FanDuel for sponsoring for Crunch Time all season long. So that's free to you, right? Typically it's premium. Kevin Roth will break down the weather. You'll get all the expert opinions and ask your questions all you want. Your 2v2s, your 1v1s, the what stacks to play, who's the best pitcher, and all of that crap later on today. And hopefully you do well in MMA tomorrow, as long as you're not in my contest, right? If we're gonna dupe, I hope I dupe with you, right? Like that. I think that's the better way to put it. I don't want to dupe. Don't dupe me, bro. But if we dupe, I hope it's one of you. So I'll see you back on Monday, answering your DFS strategy questions like I always do on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.